Item number 11 for business from the City Council, ad hoc committee recommendations regarding business incentives and Lloyd Wise Company Nissan dealership. Mr. Gale.
Thank you, Mayor Gill and council members again. It's my pleasure to be here to talk and give a report regarding the ad hoc committee that was set up from your August 26th meeting, I believe, regarding a business incentive from the Nissan new car dealership that's located on Bridge Street. As a little background, the city council did adopt business incentives back in early 2011. And in those incentives, it talked about a variety of different incentives from impact fee deferrals, waiving of incentives to pay back impact fees over amount of time, water and sewer connections, but all of them had to do with new developments within our community or large job creation. And on the 26th, Nissan did come and write a letter asking for support for 300 on average. I'll just round the number, 300,000. And the council asked the ad hoc committee to do some research on business incentives specifically for car dealerships. As we looked at car dealers, we found that Madera, Woodland, Vacaville, Colusa, Woodland, Davis, and Chico are all, sorry, I misspoke there, Buckland, I should say Mayor Cashgill and Vice Mayor John Dukes.
We look very similar.
You guys do look very similar.
And we do have the same middle name.
Well, let's go on to the next one. But they did not provide any incentives for their car dealers. We tried to look at regional car dealerships that would provide incentives. In short, providing incentives to a new car dealership to locate to a region is rare. Some of them that have occurred, Elk Grove has done a variety of them. It was mainly to push their new large auto mall that's right along Highway 99. One, they provided $500,000 over 3 years to incentivize Ford to move from their current location that was on the east side of 99. Another one was for Mazda, who was located out of a temporary trailer and was considering maybe looking at other facilities in the region. They gave them $150,000 over a couple of years, and they also did a shop local program. Folsom waived planning and building fees, but it was based upon a new $7 million rehabilitation to the Folsom Auto Mall, where I think it was Folsom Imports and Chevy used to be right there off of Highway 50. Sacramento County did use RDA funds to assist with public improvements for what they're calling their new auto mall along Auburn and 80, as they had a lot of dealerships move away. Roseville provided redevelopment assistance first to build the auto mall, and second to do a facelift on the auto mall. But obviously redevelopment dollars are not around. As part of our effort, we did meet with the local car dealers, and it became very clear that no incentive has been provided to them, and each one of them have made significant improvements to their facilities over the last 7 years. From Wheeler Chevrolet built a brand new facility. John L. Sullivan built a new facility which we could not provide incentives to based upon state law because they were relocating. Kia built a new facility, and they're the same way as John L. Sullivan. Ford is doing a $1.5 million improvement currently, and Dow Lewis has done some improvements. And then most recently, Toyota, which I believe will have their ribbon cutting next Friday, they've made significant improvements. And although we did not provide business incentives, I do believe the city has been very business friendly. We've moved their projects forward, we've helped them throughout the process, and we've done our best to minimize the fees that they would have to pay for the impacts that their facilities had on our community. And finally, as the ad hoc committee met, it became quite clear that the dealers were very interested in starting a new car dealer association, of looking for ways to help market the Yuba Sutter region as an auto mall. As we have these new dealerships here in Yuba City, that they might be able to do some joint marketing efforts. And one of the recommendations is at a future meeting, after they've begun their new car dealerships, that they come back and that the council consider funding them or helping provide matching dollars at a future time. Another one of their comments was having the Economic Development Commission review the current economic incentives and suggest any improvements that might be made to help us improve as we consider incentives for future business. Right now, they are very broad, which I think provide staff and the council a broad spectrum of incentives and a broad ability to work with businesses on a case-by-case basis. But as we looked with other communities, they're very prescriptive. But at the same time, I think that makes it very difficult for cities in considering a variety of different incentives. So those are the three things of not providing incentives to Nissan at this time, to consider financial support at a future time for a new car dealer association, and 3, have the Economic Development Commission to review and provide suggestions to our business incentive program if needed. And I can answer any questions that you might have on the ad hoc committee's recommendation or any other questions about incentives for new car dealerships.
Any questions for Mr. Gale, myself, or the Vice Mayor? One of the things that we did ask while we were on the committee, so we get a good feel for it, was didn't know quite how long Toyota's lease was. So we wanted to get a copy of their lease agreement. We did ask Nissan. I'm sorry. We did ask Nissan to send that lease agreement directly to our city attorney for confidentiality reason why, for purposes, and they refused to send that out. So that made the decision even a little bit clearer as far as what direction we needed to do. And I think our direction here was to not proceed with the recommendation of tax incentives at this point in time.
Well, and I think also when we did have our meeting with the new car dealers, in talking about in the future looking at some type of funding mechanism or rebate from the city on the sales tax back for a new car association for marketing and advertising, that it makes sense, because then as the city we're not choosing winners and losers, but it's applying to all of the businesses equally. And I also feel that taking this back to the Economic Development Commission to let them look at this and look at ideas, I think it's something that we should do before any type of decision.
Right. I think after talking with all the car dealers that were there, I think it became very clear, just like you've mentioned, is we had Toyota built their whole facility. We didn't give them any kind of incentives. Wheeler went and redid the whole remodel, millions of dollars, nothing there. Ford's doing their remodel right now, nothing, no incentives there. Even when the city took water and sewer system out to Lewis Motors, again, no incentives, no tax breaks there. So it became very, very apparent it's kind of hard to give away public funds for private use. And we've got to go through the process and make sure that the process is followed fairly. And like we said, we're going to do the process, follow the process, and then come back with the recommendations. And that's what our goal here is recommendations. We do have an individual, Dr. Ozran, who wishes to speak on this item. Dr. Ozran, if you can go to the podium, state your name and address, we'd really appreciate it.
Mayor Gill, members of the council, thank you for your time this evening. I want to start by applauding the ad hoc committee. I fully support the direction of the report, and I appreciate the outcome, and I can only agree with Councilman Dukes and Mayor Gill in terms of their most recent comments this evening. I wanted to add 2 suggestions for next steps as we continue to move the community toward this path of better prosperity. When you send this to the Economic Development Commission for assessment, I would ask that you ask them to look at what communities have implemented incentives and then stopped giving incentives. Because what I'd like the commission to consider in their evaluation is whether we should not do incentives of this sort at all. I don't think that these kinds of incentives, as you both suggested, are really helpful, and if we can get to the point where the city doesn't offer them, I think that ultimately would actually be better for the city, preserve resources. There's the concept of disproportionate value. The $100,000 a year to a company that's earning $10 million in revenues is worth very little compared to a city losing potentially a police officer for $100,000. There's a disproportionate benefit that's in that calculation that I would like the commission to consider. The second piece that I'd like the commission to consider is the flexibility concept. And I know Darren was talking about the potential advantages of flexibility, but in fact I think that flexibility is a danger. It allows you to be influenced by special interests. It allows you to give one company a benefit that you don't then give to the same company in similar circumstances. And I think that that's the reason why the communities that do have incentives have very prescriptive incentives. Again, as both of you recognize, that there's a danger that we'll give incentives to some businesses and potentially hurt other businesses, particularly the businesses that are already here, because the businesses that are already here still generate more than 80% of new jobs. So those are the two things that I would ask that you pass on to the commission, and I really appreciate the efforts of the subcommittee, and I thank you for moving our committee down this new path to prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ezran. Any other comments, questions for Darren?
Would you like me to respond to any of the comments at all?
Sure.
So I think one of the things is the city of Yuba City is a city 50 minutes north of Sacramento and Roseville. I think one of the things that does make us such a competitive market is that we have a staff that's willing to work with businesses and we can get projects quick. Kingsbury, for example, that came in. The project that we're working on right now at the Twin Rivers Academy are two great quality projects, which I think help define what a great community we are as it relates to being a business-friendly community that can get things done. I do believe as we look to attract new employers or some large retailers, that incentives being on the books help us throughout that effort. And as it relates to being prescriptive or broad, it's very difficult to write an ordinance or to write policies, in my opinion, that fits for everyone. We don't know what businesses will be coming, but we want to make sure that when they do come, that we have an open way of encouraging them to come here, especially those large employers. Our broad ordinance that allows us to work with them in providing sewer and water, I think, is exactly what a city like Yuba City needs. That we're at a disadvantage that we're not on an interstate, but we're at an advantage that we have the right staff and we have the right ordinances to help us get, hopefully across the finish line and attract them. Those come through very few and far between to see some of those large employers, but I think the city has created a good foundation and a toolbox for staff to work with.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
One other comment. If this moves forward to the Economic Development Commission, I would recommend also that they look at, we talk a lot about the leakage out of the community. And not much has been talked about as far as the leakage into the community, because there's a lot of people that come from surrounding communities that buy cars here that don't live here too. So it's real easy to talk about all the ones that are not being sold here and people are doing elsewhere, but it would be interesting also to look at the numbers of vehicles that are purchased locally from people outside our area where we benefit from the sales tax.
So the number is about 20%.
20%.
Yeah.
So we add that to the 50%, we're close to 70% then. If you,
And the biggest
round numbers.
brand loyalty out of all the dealership is with GMC and Dow Lewis Motors. They're about 7 percentage points higher than all the other dealerships.
It's good to know.
But that's great information that we'll review and something that we can review on a regular basis to hopefully help attract people from outside the region to buy cars here.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Darren. I think this is just for discussion and recommendations. I don't think we need a vote on it.
No.
Okay.